Hi, folks. So Eric and I are co-founders of a company called Bit Circus, which is basically a big band of nerds. We're in downtown Los Angeles, and we're in the throes of building something that's like ostensibly ridiculous. So before we tell you about that, we're going to tell you a little bit about how we got here.
All right. My name's Eric, and I'm a roboticist. Brent is a game maker, and we're both engineers. But when I say we're engineers, like, we love engineering. We love nothing more than building stuff, and we do it all the time. Now, as it happens, once upon a time, we both had real jobs. Long ago, I was working as a roboticist. I was actually working at a think tank, building giant autonomous robots for the military, like you do. And Brent was at what he describes as a failing startup. And hey, I loved what I was doing, and he loved what he was doing. I was learning such amazing stuff, and I was solving interesting problems all day and doing what I loved best, which was building stuff, right? But there was something missing. And every night I would go home, and I would tinker. Literally, I would tinker in my garage. My brain was just bursting with all the fun stuff that I was learning and doing. Robots I was building, techniques I was learning, computer vision, robotics, making things autonomous. But I needed to make something different. And because I was solving real problems during the day, I didn't feel like I really had to solve real problems at night. I was engineering just for the fun of it. So I'd go home and make stuff. As it turns out, there were other people like me. Brent was one of those people. He was going home at night. He was making stuff too. And still yet there were others who weren't even engineers, graphic designers, physicists, and slowly over the course of a year or two, we started to find one another, and we started to collaborate on stuff. And for Brent and I, this was our first collaboration together. And this took some of the computer vision that I was learning and working with at work, and some of Brent's game sensibilities. And what this was a whiteboard, an ordinary whiteboard, and you would walk up to the whiteboard, and you would draw anything you wanted on that whiteboard, and a camera would capture whatever you had drawn and turn it into a physics simulation. And then, using a projector, we would simulate blocks falling down from the top of the whiteboard and interacting with everything you'd drawn. It was art. We thought of it as art. We installed it at a party. What are people going to do with it? You know what they did? They walked up to it and they turned it into a game. That was the neatest experience, seeing how people interacted with this technology. That was the first hint that maybe we were doing something cool in the gaming space. This was something else we worked on. Very, very simple. Sometimes what we work on is very simple. This is a 6-person game table. It turns out you go to a party, you go with one other person, or you go in a foursome. When you wind up at a table with 6 people, you can't help but having a novel interaction with another human being who you probably don't know. Best way to get to know somebody is to kick their butt in one of these games. Sometimes the things we do are ridiculously overwrought and complex and ultimately fail. Like this, our attempt to merge Rock Band and Space Battles, and it was 6 people all performing a different role in this space battle. There was a navigator and a gunner and a pilot, and they were competing in a fully 6 degree of freedom space simulation. Oh, it was too much. It's just too much. It was so bad. So we stopped that.
And it was about the time that we filled a room with laser beams that it wasn't our friends calling anymore saying, hey, would you bring those ridiculous games to our party? It was like Microsoft and Intel were saying, hey, would you guys bring that to our conference or whatnot? And we were like, wow, really? There's a business here? Like, this has just been our passion project. And so that was really a fun sort of transition. So the first thing we did was, for a big hotel in Seattle, we built this sort of 4-room immersive adventure. And we put laser beams in one and a wall full of buttons on the other one. And kids would sort of walk through this sort of, fun immersive adventure, all playing together for 6 kids at a time. And so it was right around now that this rock band, OK Go, which is in Los Angeles, found out about this big band of nerds in downtown LA. They were the guys who did this crazy treadmill video. And so they said, hey, you guys want to help us make a music video? And so like a good band of nerds, we said, absolutely. And they wanted to dance with a machine. So we all thought about it. We kind of kicked it around a little bit and ended up making a Rube Goldberg machine that sort of the band was sort of interacting with and abused by. And so it started like this, and it ended like this. But the part that was the most fascinating to us was the calls that happened afterward. Parents, teachers, school districts started calling saying, hey, that crazy music video you guys did, we used that in our science class, and our kids were totally inspired. And we looked at each other and we were like, what? That ridiculous thing was a teaching tool? And that was a really kind of special moment, because we sort of realized that education and learning didn't have to be this sort of pedagogical, rigid structure, but that in fact, the inspiration side of it was even more important. And
and this is where the story gets weird. Because then Hollywood found us, and we wound up being the on-screen inventors for the show Extreme Makeover Home Edition, and using really high-tech things to reinvent people's homes. And we're like, this isn't quite right. Well, I mean, we were sharing our love of engineering with the world, to be sure, but perhaps not in the manner which we had hoped. So we did a little bit of soul-searching. And we said, how can we best share what we love to do, engineering and science and technology and engineering and art and math, with the world? I know. A carnival. We'll have a carnival. And that's what we're doing. We are creating the STEAM Carnival, which is a carnival starting in Los Angeles and going to San Francisco in the spring of next year. And when I say a carnival, I mean the real deal. There's games, there's stage shows, there's, what do you call it, artisanal carny food? I'm afraid of the artisanal carny food. We're throwing away all the carnival games which you know and love and replacing them with high-tech versions. And the goal of these games, and the goal of all of the surrounding curriculum, which Brent will tell you about in a second, is to inspire kids the way we've been inspired by science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
So in April, we launched the Kickstarter, which, if you haven't done that yet, oh my God, it totally devours your life. I mean, this was just a crazy 30 days. But the part that was fantastic was it worked. It would have been really hard for us to have, spent a number of years building a carnival in the hopes that that was going to be something people wanted. We put it out there, and all of a sudden it was like, wow, people are excited about this. And again, we had parents and teachers calling saying, hey, you guys got to bring this to our school. How can we get involved in this, kind of crazy carnival? And so here's a very ambitious artist's rendering.
It's going to look just like that.
Yeah, wow. But there's basically two sides to this thing. One is all the high-tech amusement, right? So a bunch of fun games. All of us could go, have a great day, never hear the word education, right? Food, games, all the fun. But the second half is the stage show, where kids get to present their own projects. And so we've got these kits that we've built. And the kits they follow game design principles, and we're basically hijacking what kids already like. Music, fashion, games, and then inserting a STEAM curriculum inside of that. So they learn about basic electronics and microcontrollers and programming. And so the way that the model works, we basically deploy one of our people to a city. They go around to various schools. They train up a local administrator on how to administer our program. But because most schools don't have all the tech and engineering chops that they might need, we've organized a big network of mentors from GE and the Children's Hospital that we can then connect to those kids with to be able to answer questions and prove as inspiration and basically have videos of them sharing kind of why they love engineering as well. So this is a picture of our musical robot kit, and we have a few others.
Oh, this is my favorite part. This is where I actually get to tell you about the games. All right, so anybody have a favorite carnival game? Have you been to the carnival before? Everybody's been to the carnival, right? I love the high striker, the thing where you take the hammer and you hit the thing as hard as you possibly can, and that mechanical object goes up and hits what I call the dinger. I don't know what it's actually called. We're going to call it the dinger. we've thrown most of that away. We've replaced all the mechanical components in that game with 20,000 volts of electricity. So, when you hit that pressure pad, what goes up? But an arc in a Jacob's ladder, and it goes as high as it would have gone if this had been made of mechanical components. So we blow breakers all the time. But, oh, it's amazing to watch. Okay, has anybody been to the arcade and played with that the teddy bear claw? You know what I'm talking about? It goes around. Have you ever won a stuffed animal? You know, it's funny, I asked this yesterday in TEDx Kids, and they all said, I want a stuffed animal. I never win a stuffed animal either. You know why? Because there's a knob on the back of that machine that turns this otherwise functional robot into an arthritic, spindly, like the unscrupulous arcade owner can just turn down the accuracy. Screw that. We decided to make our own version of the arcade claw machine, one that is 6 foot wide by 3 foot long and is deadly accurate. Deadly accurate. Now, the difference is, rather than trying to capture a passive teddy bear that doesn't fight back, you have to chase robots that are actively evading you. So we put Sphero robots in this chamber, and you're racing around trying to capture these robots, and they're zooming away from you. They know where you are. They don't want to get caught. All right, does anybody know what this game is? Does this look like a game that perhaps you're familiar with? Asteroids. Our version of Asteroids is a little bit different in that you are the ship. And so the way you play this game is you sit in this little chair and you hold a trigger in your hand and you roll around on the floor. I would roll around on the floor, but I'm not allowed to step outside this dot. And that ship always stays right in front of you, right on the floor, plastered on the floor by a laser projector over your head. I don't know if you knew this, but the original Asteroids game was a laser projected game. It was one of the first. So it's our homage to that game that we've used laser projectors to make this game a reality. This is so much fun. Kids, adults, doesn't matter what it is, everybody loves playing Asteroids. What's next? Ooh, this is our giant skee ball game. So, you know, skee ball's cool, but the ball is only, you know, it's tiny, right? So we made one that's 3 feet in diameter. This is simulated right now, but it's a ton of fun. The interesting thing about this game is the simplicity of its construction. Basically what we've done is we've created the world's largest trackball. How'd we do it? We took a giant circus ball and we stuck it on top of a tiny mouse. So under that ball is a mouse, and whenever you move the ball, you're essentially moving the ground under the mouse, as opposed to how you use a regular mouse. You move the mouse over the ground. And we've used this to create a number of different games. It's just a great simulation. All right, this one is totally fun. This is our button wall twister game. It's a 2-player competitive game, and for each player, 2 lights will illuminate, and you have to hit both lights at the same time. Simple, right? But wait, in a moment, 3 lights turn on, and you have to hit all 3 at the same time. And then 4 lights, and 5 lights, and after a while, you're just throwing your body up against the wall in an attempt to hit all the buttons at a time. Now, this particular version is very interesting because those 2 gears counter-rotate. Don't get your fingers caught. But if you see your opponent going for a particularly tricky maneuver, you just spin the gear. You spin your gear, and it's all over for them.
It's funny, that was actually a really good idea in theory, and enough people got their fingers caught that we actually had to do a new version. You know, you do kind of have to build those things to figure it out.
The new strategy to win at this game, by the way, is just to push your opponent out of the way.
So, my favorite part about this whole thing is that at the very end, when the kids are actually at the event, right, there's been the stage show, they've been able to showcase the project they've been building the whole time because we're going to have a fashion show of wearable electronics, a concert of musical robots, an arcade of their indie group games. So the kids have been able to showcase all their stuff, they've been able to play all the games, and then we pull back the curtain and we show them how we made our games. And lo and behold, they use the same components that are in our kits. So we can say, wow, not only can you experiment with all the things you've been building these last 10 weeks, but you get to, here's all this other stuff that you can build now, and the world of engineering is sort of like opened up for you. So We're super excited. We can't wait to bring this thing out here. We're going to be in LA and San Francisco next year. We hope to bring it to Dallas, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon.